We see shifting, turbulent sands of a desert in ancient Persia. We see the silhouette of a man staggering across the horizon, clearly wounded, clearly dehydrated, the blistering sun above him, marking his imminent demise. Then we see another figure upon the horizon as the moon rises into the sky and the once baking desert becomes a frozen death trap. This new figure approaches and embraces the staggering man, who is given vigor and continues on his journey through the desert. And we see behind him now the dominant force of the Roman Empire. We see cannons blasting and ships cracking throughout the chaos of the Napoleonic Wars. We see the mud, we see the rats, we see the barbed wire and the thundering devastation of the Somme. And then we see darkness and we hear a voice. History is blemished by war. But the war in the night will change this forever. Donica, you are approaching the station known as Down Street. You're in the underground car, pushing you towards the home of the Nosferatu. What has been going through your mind and what have you been up to these past nights?
A lot. Again, he's like been able to do a lot without other people around when he excels. And he has been going around London and being kind to homeless people. He's been feeding homeless people and has been giving them drugs and has been giving them booze and has been giving them cigarettes and giving them money all over London during the night. And all he asks in return is that if they see anything, that they let him know. And so he's been doing this kind of all over, trying to get like a network of like rats and informants together. He's asked a lot of them to like stand outside certain nightclubs and just keep track of who's going in and who's going out. He's asked a lot of them to like keep in mind of who's coming to or who they buy their drugs from, who they like go to, and if they know who like the bigger people are who are like ahead of those people. So all this sort of like information gathering is what he's been doing mostly, leading up to this. He's also been like doing some sneaking around. He left a letter in Toph's house. He like emailed Tess about some things. And he's been thinking as well about how he might get rid of this Dimitri figure from the club with Siegfried. So all of this sort of busy work as he like gives a nod to the clown-masked Nosferatu who drives the car and like tries to engage in conversation, but it never really works. Every time he tries, he just cackles.
Yes, absolutely. The clown mask individual. You're not sure if it's a Nosferatu. You've never seen underneath the rubber mask. It covers the entirety of its head. But you can tell from the talons that maybe you're on the right track. And after that less than fruitful attempt to make conversation with the car driver, you have arrived at Down Street, the converted home of the Nosferatu. And the gutter sort of has that gentle buzz of varying differences of music and things like that. Music from different eras. Everyone has their own tastes. And the barkeep is there as ever, wiping glasses with a filthy rag.
Yeah, Identical will give him a nod. He's like used to this routine, and he'll like come to the bar and like with his claws sort of like drum on the wood until the barkeep will like approach, and he'll say, I actually won't even say anything. He'll like look up to Faye's room, like sort of, and raise an eyebrow.
Yeah, he just gives a nod, which is all that is required now. You're a fairly recognizable figure in these parts now. And you are able to go and speak to Fag if you wish, unless you have any other business here.
I would first go to where not Dimitri.
You got that right. So Jeremiah is the club owner. Dimitri
Ah,
is the. It's okay. It was a while ago.
yes, yeah,
Dimitri was the murdered
yes.
Nosferatu.
So I'll go to Dimitri's old haunt. He had like a setup down here with like old screens and things like that. He'll just like stick his head in and have a look around and see what the setup is like, and if it's still like bloody or if has it been cleaned or what the situation is.
Sure. I think I also got his name
Yeah,
wrong.
his name is
Yeah,
Peter.
his name's Peter. That was
Yes.
it. It was Peter.
Who the hell's Dimitri?
Jesus Christ. I should pay attention to my own games sometimes. That would be a great start. Yeah, who is Dimitri? I have to remember that. So yeah, you are able to go to Peter's abode, and there are those mainframes now. A lot of dust has gathered upon them. Many different screens set up. You can see though that quite a lot of stuff has been taken from this place, lifted, as it were.
Seized, no doubt, by the Camarilla. This is where we met the sheriff before. He'll like just have a quick look around and kind of like decry the state of the place. And like if Peter was, older, even by a generation, he would not be as with it when it comes to computers and whatnot. So like Donica will look around and think like, this is where I'll put this thing, and this is where I'll put this thing. Just like take a brief sort of view of the place and then go and talk to Fag.
Absolutely, and you make your way to the gutter. Toff, what are you up to this night? Or these nights, rather?
I think Toff's been by himself too. He has kind of shuttered himself away in his flat. And I think you would see this scene where he kind of just brushes all this half-eaten food, sticky tabletop, and he slides it over, and you see him just kind of rummaging through his place that is just destroyed. And until he finds what he's looking for. He finds this little small wooden box, and inside he opens it up, and there's this fine paper and a pen, like a calligraphy pen. And he sits down at this table, and you see him just bending over, writing something. And as he's doing that, at one point, he looks up and he looks across this room, and on this dilapidated bookshelf, on the bottom shelf, half covered with bits of debris and dirty clothing, you see this this violin case. He gets up and he goes and gets it and brings it over, and then he digs around in this drawer in the cabinet. You hear this clanking, and he finds one of those small recorders, and he turns on this recorder and he starts to play this violin, and I think that's when it would fade off, and that's what he would be doing over the days, writing and playing this violin.
You would have also received an invitation during this time. You would have received an invitation bidding you to accompany Sid to the Shard a few nights from now for the Domain Gala. Whether you accept that or not, it's entirely up to you.
So I guess that would be like, it'd be like as he's playing one time, he would look down at his cracked screen of his phone, and he would look at the message, and he would just say, "Fuck me, dead," and then he would start playing. But yeah, he would end up much later responding back to Sid saying that he would go.
Fantastic. Siegfried, what have you been doing these past nights?
So Siegfried, similar to Donica, would have been trying to brainstorm and keep in touch with Don and Vincent about the prospects of dealing with this club scene, trying to come up with plans and organize some sort of progress on that front. But also something newer for him, perhaps inspired by his new alliance with Donica, perhaps, and the events that have happened, would be honing his vampiric instincts, going out hunting more deliberately, taking more control of his own abilities, and almost kind of not taking after Donica, but kind of seizing initiative in developing himself on that front a little bit more.
Fantastic. The phone rings. Your mobile rings. It's a number you do not recognize.
Yeah, Siegfried will kind of like raise an eyebrow, but eventually pick up the phone, answer it. Hello?
Darling, a very haughty voice comes down the telephone, a voice you don't recognize. Is this Siegfried that I'm speaking with?
It is? Who is this?
My name is Lala. Lala de Winter. I am your primogen. I do
Ah,
not believe we have been formally introduced.
I don't believe so either. I had hoped to meet you, but it seems we've gotten in contact eventually.
Well, I did send my dear Cinder to ensure that you would join us at one of our little soirees over in the Tate Modern, but it seems that you neglected to attend.
Unfortunately, we got distracted. One of my friends decided to play superhero after the event.
That does sound infinitely fascinating, darling, but I'm afraid I don't have much time to speak with you this evening. However, I would love to amend this when you are to accompany our kind, the Toreador, to the Domain Gala. I expect you've already heard as such.
I think I've heard the whispers in the wind. A big get together, lots of schmoozing, showing off, such and such.
Is that a yes, my dear?
Yeah, sure. That's a yes.
Excellent. Well, you know where it will be, and make sure you dress appropriately for the occasion. Though, from what I hear, you are somewhat of a looker.
I'll uh I'll look nice.
Excellent. Thank you, darling. Next time we'll Skype. Ciao. And the phone goes dead. Tess. I really enjoyed that. Sorry. Tess, what have you been up to these past nights?
Oh man. I'm still cracking up over that one. That was good. And so I think Tess has been continuing to meet with Mr. G, asking 100 questions an hour, getting information, a little bit of Amazon shopping in preparation for the gala to come, and an email that she didn't expect from Donica. And she intends to meet with him as he requested. But first, she would like to find Siegfried in these intervening days, nights.
As a matter of fact, in that case, then, as Siegfried puts the phone down, perhaps you arrive at the door.
Anybody home?
Ah, yeah. What's up? I wasn't expecting you.
Uh, yeah, been a little busy, you could say.
With Mr. G?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Look, it's I think it's important. I think it's important to know what's happening, to know what's going on, to know what they're planning. I can be part of that.
Part of it, sure, but at what cost? What do they make you do to be a part of it? What will you have to become to be a part of it? Information is great, but so are a lot of other things, including standards. I say that and see that he's probably overstepped. And kind of wince.
Well, I wasn't here to ask for your approval. I was here to... The party, the gala, the thing.
Yeah, what about it?
We're bait. We've always been bait.
Yeah, it sounds about right. For what this time?
Our sires. I don't know how you feel about yours. I'm not sure I've figured out how I feel about mine, but you should know, and Don should too. I'm gonna see him later. You should know that if you give them away, that's why you're there. That's why we're there. I think that's why they've put us through hell and back.
And when they find these sires, if they find these sires, what does that mean for us? What happens then?
I honestly don't know.
Yeah, all right. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that, but thanks, at least for the heads up.
There's something else. It has been so wonderful for you to let me stay here and everything. But I've got to move out. As fun as sleeping in the bathtub has been.
Fair enough. Yeah, I guess. Where are you staying?
I don't actually know yet. Oh, don't give me that look. Look, I'm playing the game as best I can. You know Mr. G likes to keep his cards close to the vest. I'll find out soon enough. But I might not be around for a while, and I'm gonna miss you.
Certainly has been quite the adventure so far. I really hope that what you're doing is the right choice. I'm not convinced that it is, but I hope I'm wrong.
Can you stop being snarky for a second and just tell me you're gonna miss me too?
That wasn't meant to be snark. That was meant to be serious. I really do hope that I'm wrong. Take care of yourself, Tess.
I'll see
Keep
you
in
later.
touch.
I mean, maybe you'll be there when I'm around with Donica too, but I didn't know if I'd get another chance to properly say goodbye.
Yeah. I guess. Goodbye, Tess. I guess I'll see you at the party.
Hey, Donaka, my boy, what brings you over here, huh? I'm so glad you could make it. I've been meaning to speak to you about something. Donaka, you're inside Feg's office, obviously, and he rises from his chair, this old Nosferatu, his wrinkled face curved in a vicious-looking smile, whether he likes it or not. What can I do for you, boy, huh?
A great many things. A number of things I'd like to ask you. We're working on the Jeremiah thing. It'll happen. But I do have some questions about being a vampire. So humans can be ill, sick, right? If we drink sick blood, do we become sick?
It is something that we do not get as much sustenance from. It is known as, but it can still be enough to keep us going.
Are there any diseases or sicknesses that could kill a vampire if they got it from a... What about like some sort of blood disease?
No, there's not really anything like that that could do much harm to us. We are of purest stock. We do not succumb to the frailties of the mortal kind. But there are some, shall we say, magically influenced afflictions that can be of a detriment to us, huh?
And what if we eat silver or holy water?
Holy water, huh? There's only so many few that can make such a thing, huh?
And what about silver if we eat it?
I don't actually know, Lloyd.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
I knew all the others, but then I was like, he's going to ask me about silver, isn't he? I don't actually know. I'm pretty sure that it can hurt them if it's put on weapons and stuff and turn normal damage into aggravated damage. I'm not sure what would happen if they ate it, though.
Okay. But it's likely to be harmful to a vampire. If like silver weapons hurt more, then it's likely to...
I'll look into it, mate. Okay.
Yep. So yeah, I guess he would ask down that line of like, okay, and what if you eat this? And is there anything that like basically trying to figure out how you might poison a vampire? And I'm sure Faye would pick up on that. But then he would say, there's a, not to be insensitive, but there's a hole in your organization. Now, I don't know how into technology you are, Faye. I know that you're old. And my impression is that a great many vampires of your age don't really keep up with modern things. Technology is what I'm talking about. My impression is that a great many ancient vampires seem to think that these things are not as powerful or important as they are. But I can assure you that they are powerful and that they are important.
It is a danger to us all. I am not ignorant to this, Donica, but when it comes to my own personal arrangement, and he gestures to his office, your eyes stray to the phone that's unplugged at this point as well. When it comes to my surroundings, I like to keep it. I like to keep it of a certain order, huh?
Yes. However, you're missing out on a great deal of information and money by not using this particular tool, I think, Feg. And it's something that I've been looking into. It's something that I was very good at when I was human, and something that I think could really benefit us down here.
You speak of taking Peter's position, huh?
Yes.
You got the job.
Excellent. That was easier than I thought it would be.
And you can tell from this that you're absolutely right. He doesn't really have much reverence for this sort of thing at all. So that's why he's more than happy to let you take such a position.
Good. Another thing that I wanted to talk about, I have begun trying to acquire information from as many sources as I can find notably homeless people, people who other people don't deal with, because I think that's what we're good at. And he'll like point to himself and to Feig as in like us, Nosferatu. We don't get noticed. And so we deal well with those people. However, if I'm doing it, I can't be the only one of us who has come to this conclusion. I can't be the only one who has realized that we are good at this information thing, this investigation thing. So what I'm asking is, do we pool those resources? Is there some sort of club where all the Nos come together and discuss?
There is a thing that Peter often spoke of, something that I'm afraid to say went in one ear and out the other. He points at his massive bat-like ears. He spoke of this club arrangement, this thing on the screens with the wires, you know, the
Yes,
net.
I see. Yep.
The net, Shrek net, something like that, yeah?
Shreknet.
It is the thing that a lot of our kind use to communicate. I'm very old, I let it to other people, you know? But I still get the information spoken to me and delivered to me because people respect me, Donica, huh?
Yeah, well, that's definitely true. There's no question there. But I mean, all of the Nos who live here in Down Street, there's a great many of them. What are they doing? What are we doing as a clan? What are we doing all the time with all this immortality that we have? Are we just sitting here in the subway station? Is that we're content to sit here and put on clown masks?
Many, what do you know the clown mask, huh?
I'm just saying that vampire seems content to drive that car with his immortality and his infinite power. He seems content to do that. That's not enough for me, Feig, and I don't think it's enough for you.
Let me get one thing clear, Donica, one thing very clear. Whatever Ribbons decides to do with his time, it is of no concern of yours, huh?
No, but it is a concern of yours. You're the primogen, and we're a clan. We have all this power and all of this information, and it seems like nothing comes of it.
We are self-serving. We all have our own aspirations, and people mind their own business, Donica. Perhaps you should stop minding yours, huh?
I can't mind my own business. Why would you not do something with all these people, all these superheroes who can be invisible and who can dominate minds, and they just sit here?
And what is your proposition, huh? What do you suggest?
That we work together on something. Get rich first. The Ventru have all this money because they have old money. They're old. They have no idea what the fuck a computer is. All of them are ancient. No offense, but many of them have a phone that's not connected in their offices too. And all their money rests in digital bank accounts.
Very good, Donica, huh? You want to be leader of this new crusade of yours?
No, absolutely not. I want you to do that. You're the boss. That's very clear to me. But I might be the hand or a finger or something.
I trust you, Donica. You seem like a good boy, despite a slight attitude problem every now and then. You're a good boy. You do this for Feig, huh?
Yeah, for the clan.
You do something else for Feig too, huh?
Sure.
You know what I'm going to ask you, Donica. There is a function that we must attend, and
No,
I have been instructed to ask you to attend.
And you're asking me. You're not telling me.
How would you like to interpret that, boy, huh?
You said the word ask, and that's what I choose to hear. I don't want to go to this thing, Feig. I want to avoid those people as much as I can.
This is a diplomatic affair, huh? I'm being diplomatic, Donica. I'm asking you, huh?
And I am declining that invitation. If you want me to go, you have to tell me that I have to go, because I don't want to.
Donica?
I really want to avoid it.
Donica? You have to go.
Fuck. I don't want to go. Why do I have to go?
We have to do many things we don't want to do all the time, Donica, huh?
Okay, but not fucking Clown Mask. He sits in that car all day. Not the fucking creepy twins. They do whatever they want. I have to go to this party, even though it's the one thing I don't want to do.
We all
Bullshit,
have
Fake.
responsibilities, Donica. We all have responsibilities. Why is it always now with you, huh? What's wrong with keeping our ears to the ground? What's wrong with preparation?
I have been undead for a short time, and in that time, I feel like I've done a lot. And in that whole time, I've seen that guy be in the car every time I've come here, and I've seen those twins lounge around. That barman is always at the bar. Nothing changes here.
What have you done, Donica? Huh? Oh, you've raised a bit of petty cash, huh? You've got some narcotics, you've got some drugs, you've got some bangers on your side now, huh? Such a cause, such an achievement, huh? In the grand scheme of things, my boy, that is nothing.
I'm doing something. And he'll like
And
shrug.
now, you're going to come with me to the party. I do this for your own good.
He'll just like stare at him for a minute and like sniff. And if I don't go,
You will displease many people you do not wish to displease. Fine. Do
okay.
not go.
But I want some stuff.
This is not some favor to me, huh? This is for you. I do this for you.
You're making me go, and I don't want to. I don't want to go.
You go because they will make your life difficult. I am saving you of this.
I've already done a great deal of making my life difficult. I'll go, but in return, you, with whatever you've been doing for the 2,000 years you've been alive, you'll upgrade Peter's station with new technology. And he'll spit in his hand and like hold it out to Fag.
He instantly spits in his hand and slaps it into yours and goes, because he clearly doesn't understand what that entails, putting new technology into that room. So he like instantly agrees, thinking that he's just won. There we are, Donica. Huh? We shake on it. You get this new technology. Huh?
Yes, I'll send you the bill.
Very well. And what is it now that you are going to do to prepare? Sorry, Lloyd. I realized it sounded like I'd finished with you.
Oh, yes. To prepare?
That was my bad. That was my bad. Is there anything else you wish to do before the party, essentially?
Yes. I want to meet with Tess at the old warehouse where we were first sired, and I want to meet with Toph in a pub down at the docks at some stage.
Excellent. In that case, then, Toph, if you agree, we shall jump to that, shall we? Toph, you're in a pub down by the docks on the end of the Thames. And yeah, Donica, I guess you arrive.
Yep, he'd be sitting there with like the drinks ordered, and when Toph arrives, he'll like gesture for him to sit.
Toph will give you one of those nods. He takes the cup, but he doesn't sit. What do you want, Donica?
I get it now. I've done some thinking and I get it. Sit. Let's not do this.
Okay, his eyebrow kind of goes up. You get it, huh? And he would slide down in the seat.
It's a long game, and I'm an impatient person. I like to do things immediately, all the time. I don't like to equivocate, and I don't like to hum and haw, and I don't like to sit around. But I get it. It's a long game. And we can't beat them if we don't know what they're doing.
once you say that, Toph leans in and he goes, "That's right. You got it. So that's all I was trying to say. Telling you, we are," and you see this light, the sparkle in his eyes as he looks at you. We're in a good spot right now. You get me, right?
I understand what the idea was and what the idea is. I get it. But
we'll never take him down from the outside, brick by brick. Won't work. You're gonna take him down from the inside.
Well, I'm not so sure about that, but you're right in that we have to have somebody in there. We need to learn from the inside. That's true. And so I'm willing to work together. I'm not saying that I trust you because you did sell me out. And that doesn't go away. That'll never go away. But information that I get can be given to you. Information you get can be given to me. And from two different approaches, we can try and do it.
I think Toph would make it look like he's just watching a couple of other patrons. Kind of spins the cup a bit. You know, I said it once. I'll say it again. I'd do it again, Donica. I won't apologize for that. But I think that we can have a working relationship that will benefit us both.
For the sake of appearances, we should be polite and civil. I've been forced to go to this fucking vampire party.
Oh, fuck me dead, me too. Oh, shit.
But I can't fake into paying for a bunch of tech, so there's that.
Toph would just laugh at that. Damn you, Donica. You're always working the angle. I love that. I love that about you.
So when we get to this party, we're friends again.
How do you think Sig's gonna take that? He was pretty shooken up by it all.
I'll talk to Sig. Don't worry. He's a smart kid.
Yeah, he is. He is.
And he's a better actor than any of us.
I won't argue that at all. I worry about him more than anybody, though.
He's getting there. And Donica will stand and swig of the drink and put it down. This can be profitable, but if you betray me again, I'll fucking stake you. And then he'll do a nod and walk out the door.
You would just hear a yell, likewise, and Toph's just gonna stay there for a little while. Love it.
Amazing. Siegfried, what have you been up to for the remaining time before the big night?
Unless he was otherwise disturbed or contacted, he would have mostly just spent doing what he had been doing before, kind of continuing to get comfortable in perhaps moving in a different direction. Also would have taken some time to make sure that his dress clothes are in order, get them, pressed and cleaned and everything to make sure that his appearances are top notch going into it.
Perfect. Okay, well, in that case, finally then, Donica and Tess, I believe you're also going to meet.
Donica would have gone to the warehouse where they first awoke, I guess, where Mr. G had staked that or beheaded that vampire, and they were tied to chairs and stuff like that. He would have gotten there, and he'd be up in the ceiling, in the rafters somewhere, squatting and waiting to see if Tess comes alone or not.
4 a.m. on the dot, and Tess walks in. Done?
He would make doubly sure that there's nobody outside, and take a few minutes, let her wait for a minute or two, and make sure there's nobody else around.
She gets annoyed, starts playing Candy Crush on her phone.
Yeah, he'll like eventually, when he's certain there's nobody else around, he'll like drop from the ceiling and like land on the ground. Hello.
You scare me. Always do that.
It's a persona, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Listen, we need to look out for each other. I'm angry at you, and I'm angry at Toph for what went down. And I think that was some selfish shit that happened. And I feel like I've been sold out. But when I thought about it, in this unlife, all that we have is each other, this small group. And so we have to look out for each other because we're all we've got.
I'm sorry. For what it's worth.
Not much, to be honest. You already did the thing. But I appreciate the gesture. I just want to be left alone. That's what I want most of all. I want the Camarilla to leave me alone. And the best way to do that is to do what they say. It's to do as they say.
I never thought I'd hear you say that.
They're everywhere and they control everything. And so the best way to have them not hassle you is to comply. I get that.
You wondered once why they sent us to Winchester, why they let you guys come after me. I think I know. And it has less to do with Winchester than I thought. I think we're bait for the sires. I think they wanted to see if they would come in, if they would rescue us. They went through all the trouble. They sired us on the same night, I think. But the party, which I doubt you're going to, but if you do, you're bait there too.
Yep, that makes sense. And he'll like shake his head. And these are the people you want to work for?
Want is a complicated word. I want to know what's happening. I want to have some ability to influence the outcome. I want to be in the loop. I want to be in charge. And if that means having to work with them, then I'll do it.
Okay. Well, listen, you keep your ears open, and I'll do the same. We have different streams of information. There's a lot going on in this city. Beneath it, there's a lot of weird shit. And I'll let you know if anything comes to hassle you, if you do the same for me.
Do I even want to know what weird shit means for you?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Figured not. Just, yeah. No, don't tell me. If it's not important, I don't need that in my nightmares. I'm gonna be gone for a while, I think. I'll keep in touch if I can. Probably through Toph or Sig. I get the feeling you don't want anything traced back to you.
If I need to contact you, I will.
How's your wife?
Yeah, he would just look and like narrow his eyes and like shake his head. Nope.
Maybe we can be friends again someday.
He shrugs. Maybe. I'll see you at the party.
See ya.
And he'll do some sort of vampire flourish where he like vanishes into a shadow, some Nosferatu bullshit, where he just like is gone.
Fucking hell. Of course.
The auspicious evening is upon us, and we see the Shard. We see gleaming spotlights raised up, illuminating the already glistening structure. Siegfried, you're first to arrive. Tell me how you do so, and if you like, you can say what you've chosen to wear, like what kind of image are you trying to portray. Over to you.
As far as how he got there, I guess that would depend on the Primogen's request. I imagine for the Toreador, image is important, so he would have looked to them to decide how they want to arrive, if that is indeed what's happening. But he would show up with them. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you've given no indication as to how to arrive at all, so it's entirely down to you. You've not been told that you're going to be meeting them to arrive, but yeah.
In that case, he probably would have just taken an Uber, but like one of the nice Ubers, so you can like select like the I want a nice car to pick me up. Like I don't want just some like whatever old car. So whatever the nicest reasonable option on there would be, he would do that. But he'd be dressed in like a immaculately tailored, like perfectly clean and pressed, 3-piece black suit, like full tie, the full vest, the whole arrangement, just as like full scale party dress as he could muster, which for him would be pretty dang good.
Fantastic. And as you walk into the door, the main entry atrium, that's the word, the atrium of the Shard, all completely open, and you can see that there are a number of people on the ground floor, which is the first for you guys. You only ever see vampires in the upper floors. You never see them downstairs, but there's the unmistakable sign. It's an instinct that you all have. You can always tell when there are vampires around you, and you can see a number of very beautiful and strange-looking people sort of waiting in the atrium almost. You can see that red plush banners hang from sort of skylights from above and stuff, and lights glisten from different places, and strange warbling beautiful music echoes across the hard surfaces. Toph, you're second to arrive. How are you dressed? How are you presenting yourself on this most auspicious night?
Well, it's auspicious, so Toph is going to dress up for this one. He shows up, nothing fancy. He just, it's like a cab pulls up, nondescript. But when he steps out, he doesn't have the Doc Martens on that he typically has. His hair is pulled back in a nice tight pony. He's got his earrings rings on all of his fingers. But what really stands out for Toph is his outfit. He's wearing a nice black satin shirt with a flamingo pink tuxedo and black high top Van sneakers and a cane that is topped with a clown's head. So he steps out of this cab, pays the cabbie, and it's like in true Toph form. It's like all crumpled up euros, and he's like spreading them out as he pays this guy, and yeah, he's going to make his way in.
I wish there was inspiration in this system. I really do. That's incredible, and you absolutely arrive and greeted with much the same scene as I described to Siegfried there. Donica, I imagine you'll be arriving at a different point. Would you be taking a subterranean route, shall we say?
No, probably not. I think he'll use his Mask of 1,000 Faces obfuscate power to like find someone that he's like killed, maybe, or someone that he's fed on recently, and like take their face and look like a real human for the evening, which is like basically undetectable. I guess unless you can like see through auras and whatnot. So he would like look like this guy and like put on the fancy suit that he stole from the tailors, and then like make his way there. He'd probably walk, since he is tireless and immortal. So he'll just walk and then arrive. With no fanfare, nothing like that. He'll buy some like proper cigarettes. Usually he smokes rollies. He'll like buy some proper cigarettes so he can take them out of a pack, and like buy a nice lighter and whatnot so he can do that.
Don't want to waste time rolling, man. Absolutely.
Nope.
Fantastic. Tess, tell me how you arrive.
I think Tess, similar to Siegfried, takes one of the nicer Ubers, the rather nondescript black car. And when she comes in, she's looking for a familiar face for Siegfried, and I bet that she changes, or she sees Toph immediately. I mean, just stands out in his hot pink. And she just can't help but laugh because, of course, Toph is in hot pink. Of course he is. Why wouldn't he be?
Perfect. Then there's the wind picks up a little bit. Where the atrium is, essentially, it makes up the whole base of the shroud. It's a vast opening entryway to this building. And soon the doors of the elevators are opening and people are being summoned upstairs. People have been basically given the go-ahead to go to where your invitations have directed you, to the Shangri-La, the hotel section of the Shard that is on the upper floors. The four of you would be able to direct yourselves to either an elevator or a staircase or whatever, but you spot that the wind has indeed picked up. Autumn leaves are being flung high into the air as a sleek black helicopter descends upon the plaza. Grigori, why don't you tell us how you arrive at this most auspicious event?
A man and a woman wielding bright orange batons summon down the helicopter onto the pad, steering clear of it, and the side door slides open before the helicopter's even fully landed. You see Grigori there. He steps out and stands tall, almost like he knows exactly where the blades end. He looks up at the shard and looks to the right and sees some construction project, some sort of apartments being constructed nearby, twin cranes looming over the shard, and almost a spot on the otherwise beautiful site. He takes his watch off. He hands it to a guard that seemingly manifests to his left, and that guard hands him a new watch. Both of them put the watches on. He begins walking forward and he loosens and takes off his necktie. He drops it on the ground and another guard picks it up. And then a Korean woman following him hands him a new tie, black instead of the white originally. He ties it around his neck, stands up tall as if stretching after a long flight. She also hands him a wallet. He takes it, 감사합니다, he says, and then he opens it up and he hands the homeless guy right out front a bullseye, 50 pounds, right out of the wallet, with hands that are recently scabbed over on his knuckles. He takes earbuds out of his ears and he passes the phone to the woman. You hear something abrasive drumming from the treble clef inside the headbuds or the earbuds. And she changes the station and puts one bud in and continues following him. He grabs a drink from, I imagine, someone holding a tray or on the off the bar, and he says to her, "Vodka dia sabaka sideta." And she nods to him, "Changmaneo," and walks off in her own direction. He stretches, lets out a sigh, motions to the two guards, and they head towards the elevators.
And I think that is the perfect place for us to take a break. That is an excellent little accent on the end of the first half of this game. Hello to those of you watching. Welcome to Performance Check. This is Vampire the Masquerade London, a night to remember. And it looks like it is going to be one to remember. We're welcoming Barker to the team and saying farewell to Taylor this session, for now at least. So what we're going to do now, we're going to have a short break, grab yourselves a drink, have a chill, and then we'll be back to continue and see what this party is going to be like. See you in a sec.
How's it going, Jeff?
Going pretty good.
Good.
How about yourself?
Good. I'm doing well. Been busy, but this was kind of a cool way to ease my way back into playing games, you know.
Nice.
And what a perfect group and an awesome storyline, and just this is actually my first V20 game ever, and so
Nice.
yeah, this is kind of awesome.
Yeah, that was
So I
quite the
think-
entrance that you just made.
Listen,
on
I'm full.
both accounts. So
Thanks. I'm fully prepared for this character to be an NPC at a moment's notice. I told Rob, I said, hey, you know what? You have the big red button in front of you. You press it, and he dies. I got no qualms. I'll make someone new.
fair enough.
So we'll see. You guys have some awesome backstory already set up, and really cool character connections.
Yeah, it's become quite the web of craziness so far,
Yeah.
and I only imagine that continuing.
Yeah, Barker, have you had a chance to watch any of the previous sessions?
So I'm still on the first. I know. I'm such a scrub, but I will be catching up on a lot of them, and I know the first is probably the most useless at this point, because the first session always happens, and then I think you have over a dozen sessions. Which one is this? Like,
Okay,
I'm
Rob doesn't
gonna
number them.
14,
bad
I
guess.
think.
14. Oh, I was gonna
Yeah.
say 14. Oh man, beautiful. But that's so many, and so yeah, I'm excited to learn about your characters in character.
Yeah, that's kind of a great way to do it,
Yeah.
because then you don't have too many preconceived notions.
There's a monster, Taylor. There's a monster in your house. There's a monster right there. I see it.
This monster straight mugs for the camera sometimes. She also tries to eat my dice.
She'll have to like roll a character.
Is that a Power Rangers shirt?
Yes.
I'm really pleased with it. Really happy with that.
Oh, that's really cool.
I'm so jealous.
Green Ranger.
Oh yeah.
I always liked the yellow one. I thought the pink one was too wimpy.
I didn't have you down as a Power Rangers man, Lloyd. I don't know why.
I mean, I was a child once, you know.
You were just you just appear like this one day. You just
Hard
walked
to
over a hill.
believe.
For some reason-
fully grown.
For some reason, it never bothered me that every episode was the same.
Yeah.
Basically, some formulas don't need to be changed.
Nope.
Oh man, what a show! Okay,
All right.
so let's get back into it. You all find yourselves being led with the crowd. Essentially, how you get up to the higher floors of Ventru Towers or the Shard is entirely up to you. You are all essentially funneled by these glamorous-looking people with ball gowns and tuxedos and slicked hair and precious jewelry. And you find yourselves in the Shangri-La. There is a vast, beautifully built dance hall within the center of it. It has a sweeping black marble dance floor. And all about it, there are people there waiting with vials of red liquid and music from a band strikes up, and instantly people fall into a kind of milling around and talks of conversation. Conversation. That's what that's called. And then some double doors open, and from it sweeps a beautiful woman, accompanied by a lot of beautiful people. Actually, she wears a flowing gown with a train behind it, which is carried by two white tuxedo wearing vampires. This is Lala Winters, the primogen of a Toreador. Obviously not been introduced to you yet, but she makes her entrance very well known and instantly starts greeting people that go to pay their respects to her. You all find yourselves, at least the four of you, not Grigori at this point, drawn to each other. You all spot each other from across the dance floor as the music strikes up. What do you guys want to do as the party is in full swing now?
I think Sig would let some time, I'm sure, as this primogen has made her grand entrance and people have flocked to her. He would kind of let some of the crowd die away as people kind of get their hellos and goodbyes in, before he would start making his way over in that direction to introduce himself.
As you make your way over there, you spot the unmistakable figure of Cinder, your YouTube celebrity friend, with this individual, and she just doesn't speak to you, but just watches you approach with a slight curve to her lip. She smiles as she sees you approach. Lala almost gives you sort of like a double take, and then says, "Ah, this is the boy that I've been hearing so much about. Charmed," and she puts out a hand like that, gesturing for you to kiss it.
Yeah, he'll kind of give a light bow and take her hand, and indeed do as she has non-verbally requested. Yes, quite the pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Now, I hear these actory performer types oft are shy when it comes to treading off the boards. Tell me, why so coy? We have longed for your company. And she runs her long fingers down the front of your tie.
Yes, I had hoped to get in touch a couple of times, but unfortunately other matters seem to have quite the interest in me these days. I have taken up much of my time.
Yes. Yes, I've heard you've become one of Gisborne's favorites. Very interesting indeed.
And he'll like try to hide like and probably mostly successfully hide the touch of a grimace that would appear on his face as they say Mr. Gisborne's favorite. Uh, and he would just kind of give a nod and say, "Yes, apparently something about me seems to be interesting to him, though he hasn't been quite forthcoming about what."
I see. Well, I think most empathize and feel pity for poor orphaned kindred with no sire to show them the way. But we can show you the way, Siegfried. We can show you all there is to know about the beauty of the night.
And beauty, I'm sure there is, and much to learn.
Yes.
I'd be happy to amend my previous absence from the involvement here, and perhaps see what we can learn from each other.
Indeed. Well, we often like to introduce ourselves, or rather, pay homage to those within our clan by making a bit of an effort, shall we say. Why, some of us who are great artists will paint me fine pieces of work. Those who are virtuosic with their musical instruments will write and play me melodies. Tell me, Siegfried, what is it that you shall do for me?
I'll kind of like look around at the crowd that's assembled here in this room. Well, I have spent much of my time as a performer of sorts, a singer, actor, mostly in opera, actually. Perhaps I can sing you an aria sometime.
Oh, that would be delightful, Siegfried. Absolutely delightful. I shall send for you some night. I shall send for you, and I will relish, relish in the sound of what I'm sure is a beautiful and unforgettable voice.
The delight would be mine, I assure you. I will look forward to hearing from you.
I'm very glad that you think so, darling. And then she basically leans forward and is as if she's about to kiss you, and then stops, looks at your lips for a second, and then walks past you. Toph, what are you up to on the dance floor or wherever you are at this point?
So I think Toph is definitely uncomfortable, but he's trying not to make it look like he's uncomfortable. And how Toph does that is he is very gregarious. He's like, "Hello, how have you been?" You know, really like pointing with his cane, interjecting himself into conversations that he's clearly not invited into. But before they can really say anything, he moves on. And he makes his way over to this cat that jumped off a helicopter because that is pretty freaking ballsy. So maybe he asks one of the other vamps on the way. He's like, "Who the hell is that guy?" And they kind of like maybe he gets at least the first name. So he'll walk up, and it's one of these very rude, like mid sentence, and it's like a tap 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 with his clown head cane onto Gregory's shoulder. He says, "Hello, Gregory, right? I don't think we've met before. I'm Toph." And he does this very elaborate and overly exaggerated bow with like where he puts his cane and he puts his hand out off to the side with it, and he does this grand like bow to him.
He is stunned for a moment and stands there in stunned silence. One of the guards next to him steps forward for a moment, but Grigory says, "Niet," and he backs up. "Race, please. What is your name?" "Dragonov. Grigory Dragonov."
Toph just kind of, most people just call me Toph. Toph will do.
Toph. Okay. You might glance left and you see someone in the corner of the room just reading, or behind Grigory, kind of reading a paper or has some sort of magazine or catalog, and there's Grigory's face on there and some advertisement. Grigory is the multi-billion-dollar head of a company that deals in surveillance equipment. So anyone who is related to or knows anything about that might recognize him. But he welcomes you over and he hands you a drink, and he whispers something in Russian or Korean or something to his assistant.
Yeah, Toph has no freaking clue who you are. He knows nothing about tech. He goes, "So, helicopter, you must be something big, huh?"
Grigory relishes in the anonymity. When here is not necessarily a safe place for him, given his rough around the edges history with the Ventru, but it still is a new sort of privacy that others that he's not often granted. And he says, "Oh, well, everybody's important, no?"
Oh, certainly they are. I'm kind of well known in these parts myself. 12 Seconds to London. Heard of him?
Have I heard of 12 Seconds to London?
No, you have. There's no way you have. It's just like a little underground punk band, new age kind of stuff. He kind of like frowns a bit. He says, "I have to talk to my agent."
I can't say that I have. Any motions? Chuseo. He takes his phone back and he hands it to you, Toph, and he says, "Find a way to put it on the phone, please." And once you open the music app or whatever, you hear Rage Against the Machine or something.
Actually, just the opposite. You hand the phone to Toph, and you give it a couple long, agonizing seconds go by, and you realize he has no idea how to operate this phone. He goes, well, 12 seconds to London. It's pretty easy to and you your phone back.
Let me
12 seconds to London.
Nearby, he's been watching this like conversation, and he recognizes Grigori definitely as like a purveyor of the thing that Donica hates, which is like government surveillance and etc. He'll like notice him definitely, and he'll like walk over and like look and take the phone and like put the thing in, and then like hand it back to Grigori. My friend here is a little technologically challenged.
Oh, but you seem quite literate. What is your name?
Donica is my name.
Donica. He nods and looks around for another drink, but comes up empty-handed and shrugs to you. He sees, actually, if it's okay, would the Primogen at this moment approach him or be nearby?
Absolutely. So you would see a rather illustrious-looking figure before you, walking through the party. You see an individual named Verity Blackwood. She is a very stern-looking woman. She wears even in like a sort of a social function, someone who has is wearing more like an official dress rather than like a party dress. It's a very, very sort of like business like. Her hair is pulled back into an incredibly tight bun. You might recognize her from maybe another encounter from another time. But she looks over at you with basically black spectacles, and her eyes narrow. She does not approach you, however.
He holds up his drink into a toast, and still speaking with Donica, he says, "No, we are all among friends here now, are we not?"
I couldn't agree more. These are the people I most long to be with. He'll like say as he like looks around this room of people he despises. But he'll like smile, and it's not the hideous smile of like a Nosferatu. It's just like some guy who's like average, I guess, in every possible way. Like no, very hard to discern who he really is. If you were describing him, you would say, "Oh, he's got like brownish, blackish, blondish hair. He's like this, you know, like he's deliberately like the most vague-looking person," which is like how that power manifests.
I think Toph, as you're making this toast, would pull out this small. He'd reach into his coat. He'd pull out this small little vial of like a white powder, and he would tap some into his drink, and he would offer it to you, Grigori. Do you want a little kick for your drink?
He gazes into the beverage for a moment. Almost downright gives you a negative, but he asks, what did you put in it?
It's just he kind of looks around like he has to worry about who's around him, and he says it's just a little cocaine. Get the evening off right.
Grigori looks around like he has to be worried about who's watching him as well, but he says, "Oh, no thanks. It's not my personal potion."
Toph would just shrug, maybe put what would be Grigori's portion into his cup, starts spinning it around, and puts the vial.
I actually don't know what cheers is in Russian. Sorry, I was going to say I don't know what cheers is in Russian, but he would say it. I'll Google it right now.
Cool. Yeah, Tess. What are you doing at this point?
And so Tess has not seen Donica, as he's very unnoticeable, it seems. And she saw Siegfried, but he got sidetracked with the Primogen, and she saw Toph. He's easy to spot, and then now he's talking to someone she doesn't know. And so Tess will look for Mr. G or Anne. and go and make her introduction for the evening.
Yeah, you spot Mr. Gisborne. He's there. He's wearing this immaculate, sort of long, fitting black tuxedo, and is standing on his own. There's some steps that go up to sort of like a balcony level around the dance floor, and he's sort of like stood halfway up the steps. And it's almost like he's just surveying the proceedings at this point, not talking to anyone.
And she'll go up like 3 or 4 steps. Mr. Gisborne?
Good evening.
Is there anyone I am required to interact with this evening?
Oh yes, in time. How do you like it, this place?
It has a lovely view.
Indeed. You will be most helpful to me in a moment or so. I am waiting for a vampire named Zia to arrive. She is a Toreador. She is an acting archon at this point, someone who enforces the will of the Justicars.
The will of who?
The Justicars. They foresee all of us here at the Camarilla. They like to maintain continuity, shall we say, amongst all vampiric domains.
Hmm. Well, I will be nearby.
I don't think we'll need to wait too long, he says, looking across the dance floor. And you see Zia, this Toreador. She walks, as ever, with the dancer's grace, incredibly dark hair and very, very dark eyes. And she appears to be making a beeline across the floor of the party towards where Mr. Gisborne is standing. And he says, well, we do not have much time, but she and I certainly have our differences. She means to undermine us here. We shall see that will not happen. Understood?
Of course. Tess lies. She has no clue what's happening. This is way over her head.
Fantastic. Okay, so you can maybe have a think about what you might like to say to Zia. Clearly, Mr. Gisborne is wanting you to distract her, so you can have a think about that. Donica, over to you.
Are there any other Nosferatu? Is fake here? Are there any other Nosferatu here?
Yeah, so there appear to be a number of Nosferatu that hang upon sort of like the outskirts of the dance floor. Where that balcony floor is, there are a number of pillars that line the sides of the dance floor, these beautiful sweeping pillars. And in one of these booths, essentially, it almost seems more shadowy than the others somehow, where there appears to be a lot of strange and hard to make out figures. And in amongst them, almost wreathed in shadow, it's fake. And he's just sitting back and watching the proceedings.
I imagine they keep trying to light candles in that area, and they keep just going out. You know, like the natural like Nosferatu thing, where like light fades around them, and they keep like the light keeps like flickering on and off. So he'll excuse himself from Grigori and Toph and say he needs to go speak with his people, and like wander over to that shadowy booth. And like say hello to Faye, but then he's really interested in the other Nosferatu who might be here who he hasn't met yet, you know?
Yeah. Donica, please come in. Welcome. I'm so glad you could attend after all. And he gives you that, like, really glad you're here, because if you weren't, you'd be in trouble. Please come sit and join us. This is Tobias. Tobias, this is Donica. He is somewhat of a rising star amongst our number. He points at Tobias, who essentially is a very, very, very tall Nosferatu. You imagine he's not far off 7 feet. Like he's sat at this point, but he's this angular creature. And he sort of just gives you kind of like he just looks you up and down. He doesn't really make any kind of attempt at conversation. He's just staring at you.
How you doing? He'll like give him the nod, and he'll like just scooch his way into the booth and sit with them, and he'll like do the sort of that terrible thing you have to do when you meet a big group of people, where you have to like shake everybody's hand and try to remember their names.
Yep.
And so he'll like go around and do that basically. But luckily for Donica, he has an eidetic memory, so he'll remember everyone's name and their faces and everything else about them. So he'll like do that and just kind of get a little bit of chat going about like, okay, and you know, clan stuff. He's really trying to like hammer home this clan thing because he thinks there's something to that, and like because they're despised by most of the other clans, he thinks there might be like a bonding thing possible there. So he'll do a little bit of that.
Yeah, you absolutely realize that there is a very clear rift as well. There's a definite a little bit of space where there's no one standing between where the Nosferatu are and where everyone else is, but they have their place here. Is there anything that you wish to find out while you're here? Anything you wish to talk about, or are you just making pleasantries at this point? Either way, it's fine.
I think he does a lot of pleasantry sort of stuff, but then he would like, I guess, he would watch them to see who they're watching in the room, because he doesn't know anything about vampire hierarchy or aristocracy or anything like that. He doesn't know anyone, and so he would like, as he's like blah 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 blah. Oh yeah, and my first night, yeah, it was so funny. I did this thing, and he's like waffling, but he'll be watching very carefully the eyes of the other Nos, who they're watching on the floor. You know, which vampires they're drawn to.
It isn't long, however, that all eyes are drawn on one location of this this ballroom. Those double doors that I mentioned earlier are kicked open and smash wildly as a familiar figure swaggers into the room. Jonah, Malkavian Primogen of the Malkavians, is announced and swings into the room. He has the most ornate, long, operatic kind of flowing red velvet coat. He has a cravat, a pristine white shirt, but his trousers are just caked in mud. And he's traipsing in like all this dirt across the dance floor, and he just wanders in and instantly scans the dance floor, and I'm going to roll a die to see which one he's going to inflict his company upon first.
I hope it's me.
Let's see. Well, you're 1. Let's see. Actually, hang on. That doesn't make sense. I can roll different. Okay. I'll re-roll on it. Donka. He scans, instantly spots you, and you can see him pushing his way through people in like a mad attempt to get to you as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I'll stand and approach him, sort of like attempting a smile. It doesn't surprise Donica at all that like Jonah can just see right through this like mask with 1,000 faces thing, and he'll just like look at him and smile. Jonah.
Yes, hello, Donica. You can't hide from me. You can't hide from any of us, let me assure you.
No, that's not my intent. Just thought I might look nicer in a suit this way than the other way. You know, how's the tiger?
Saracen sends his love. But to explain, they stole a tiger. Long story. Saracen sends his love. He wishes he could be here, but he has other matters to attend to.
He's keeping busy then, that's good.
He's eating people, Donica, yes.
Yes. Well, I suppose that was to be expected.
Absolutely. What brings you here?
There's a party on, and I've been asked to attend.
Yes. There have been many among my number that have tittered and whispered about this very special evening. You notice he's alone. You notice he's the only person that's rocked up. It doesn't seem like there's any other of his kind with him.
Yeah, he would ask, where the rest of the and he would like think for a second and then remember, because of his perfect memory, Malkavians, where are the rest of your clan?
Many like to keep to themselves, and I am primogen of them. They do as I say. I thought I would ease their discomfort in being here by asking them not to attend.
It's very good of you. I wish that I had been given such an order, and yet here I am. And he'll like look back to Fag and like give him a wink. I'm sure Fag heard that.
You see that Jonah basically gives this very, very deep bow to the Fag, who is just watching, but clearly has a smile. They have clearly interacted many a time, it seems, and are both used to each other. And Jonah says, I might need a little bit of help later on.
Right. Now, you know, I'm always willing to help you, Jonah. It's always been a pleasure, but I think that this particular place that we are is a bad place to go on any sort of adventure.
No, not so much an adventure, just a little surprise that I've been concocting. Something to make this party go off with a bang.
Right. Okay. Sure. Well, you know, we are friends, Jonah. So if you decide that you're going to go ahead with it, you just fill me in on what it's going to be, and I'll see if I can help.
It's C4, Donica.
Christ, what?
It's C4. Is it C4 or D4? I can never... D4. D4.
Explosives?
B4. B4.
It's C4.
I don't believe we've been introduced. This is my friend, Donica.
Grigori was not at all accidentally talking to Rob Coletta, but no, he moves forward and he says, "It is a pleasure," and he nods. He did interrupt the conversation, though, because he saw that this person that he just met, Don, was seemingly uncomfortable, maybe, perhaps, but he actually nudges his way in between them as if he's passing by towards some caterer in the distance.
Excellent.
Jonah, can I just when you say C4, do you mean plastic explosives? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, the man did say something a bit like plastic. Yeah.
And okay. Now listen, Jonah, we are friends, but I think this might be the wrong time to set off an explosion. There's a great many potentially very angry vampires in the room.
I see. I've been giving a lot of thought about what you were saying, Donica, about these people.
Right. What? I see. Yep.
I consider you to be a very good friend. I know we haven't met many times, and I know we haven't spent that much time together, but honestly, I think you and I one day will, you know?
I agree. I couldn't agree more. Yeah. But I must say that I think it's a good idea, but I think that maybe tonight is not the right night for an explosion.
What am I going to do with it then?
Hold on to it. Yeah. Put it somewhere safe. And in the next few nights, you and I can have a chat about what we're going to do with it. Because I do think it's a good idea and we can do something interesting and fun with it. But I don't think that this here in the Shard, where all the big vampires are, is a good time for that explosion. Does that make sense, Jonah?
It certainly does. Your words have merit, Donica. I'm gonna get a drink, and I will see you in a bit. I have a bone to pick with someone.
Excellent. Okay. Yep. So just remember, we'll do it another night. Yeah, not tonight. Yeah, enjoy.
Wait, not tonight.
No explosions tonight. Yeah.
No explosions tonight. No, yeah, gotcha. And he walks off.
Yeah. Donica will like turn back around to Fag, and he will be just like so pale, and like make his way back to the table and like ask Fag to have a quick word.
And as you go over to that, Toph, what are you up to at this point?
I think Toph is just letting his drink kind of kick in. He's looking around the room. You said there's a dance floor. I mean, not to brag, but Toph can certainly cut a rug when he wants to. So I think he would make his way over to Tess and Mr. G. And unlike others, he doesn't interrupt them. He just kind of stands there, maybe awkwardly for a few moments until, you know, there's kind of that eye contact is made. And then it's like, okay, I can now say something. And he would say, Mr. G, Tess, you look great tonight. That's a great song. You want to dance?
You know, Toph, there's someone coming that I really think you should dance with.
Oh, really? Who?
Yeah, oh, look, here she comes. I believe she's a Toreador, so she'll be a great dancer.
Zia has arrived at the foot of the stairs and is walking towards you and comes to a stop in front of you. It seems as she arrives that the music surrounding you seems quieter. The air around her seems cold. And she is just staring at you as she clearly hears what you say. Are you a fine dancer, Bruja? Her eyes seem to like see through you.
Toph would kind of shudder for a second, and he'd say, the name's Toph. I can hold my own.
Your name doesn't matter to me. However, I do judge people on how they can move sometimes. You can tell an awful lot by the way people hold themselves. I would have this dance. And she just looks over and just stares at Mr. Gisborne right in the eyes as she says that.
I think Toph, much like he did earlier in the evening with the gracious bow, he would say, my lady, and he would offer a hand to her to take to lead her out to the dance floor. And I don't know what kind of music is being played right now, but I hope Toph can dance to it.
Okay, well, let's see how well you can dance, because I believe, I'm pretty sure that there is a performance thing in the skills. Yes, a performance check, you might say. So if you do performance and dexterity for me, please, if you have it. First roll of the night.
And my question, can I use celerity with that as well?
Ooh, that's a really cool idea. Yes, you certainly can.
All right, cool. Because Toph is pretty gracious, or graceful, I should say. All right. Not tonight. 3 successes.
It's still, even 3 successes is still pretty all right. So what do? You can tell us if you like.
I think what I envision in my mind is it's like music that you wouldn't expect Toph to be able to dance to. Like it's some like classical music piece, and the dance, it's almost like a ballroom dance type style. So I imagine Tess, because she's right near Toph when this happens, she's thinking, oh my gosh, he's going to murder this. But he actually nails it. It's like he knows all the steps, all the moves, his position, his body poise is perfectly on point. And not only that, there's almost like this hypnotic fluidity to it. Like there's that quick as he spins with this other vampire. Yeah, so I think it he impresses those that maybe wouldn't think that Toph could do it.
She looks you up and down once the number's finished, and she when you're doing this, she does dance with you, but it's because she also has some of the same gifts as you, celerity being one of them. You see that this vampire, this woman in front of you, is just moving all around you in a very hypnotic, whirling dervish that is a real sight to behold. But you see that while there's obviously technique and amazing performance in there, there's something about it that's very cold and very deliberate, almost like she's toying with you whilst you dance around in the dance floor. She's just watching your every move. And you're seeing that there's no trace of enjoyment in there whatsoever.
So Toph is feeling like the mouse feels with the cat. It's like the predator to prey kind of a feel.
But you are relieved somewhat as the lights begin to darken a little bit, and the cold gaze of Zia is taken from you for a second as your eyes adjust. All of the lighting in the room seems to dim. And then small fires kind of flicker up from the doorways of those double doors once again, as a cascade of red velvet appears to roll from the doorway, decorating the room as these essentially these vast silken red sheets sort of like swirl about as this striking looking woman steps through the doors in a blood red gown with almost strange lights sort of deep in the wells of her eyes. This is Morda, the sorceress, the primogen of the Tremere, who sweeps into the room, and there's almost like a reverence in this this particular clan is very mysterious and keeps themselves to themselves, and no one trusts them either. And that is immediately apparent as they arrive. Like there's a change in the atmosphere in the room. People avoid the Nosferatu because they find them mainly to be distasteful. People avoid the Tremere because they think they might make their blood turn to fire. So there's that. Tess, what are you doing right now?
And while Zia was dancing with Toph, and Tess was trying to get more information from Mr. G, they're still on the stairwell, looking out, watching this happen. I don't understand. What do you want me to do?
You had already done an admirable job. You were keeping Zia busy with your friend.
Busy from what?
Just busy.
That's not helpful. I need more information.
I have a little surprise for all of those attended here. As I mentioned to you before, and he lowers his voice, it would be some nights before our prince would return to us. However, I think it would be prudent for such an event to occur in 1 hour. And he smiles.
Now that is useful information.
Do you think you can keep her distracted for that long?
I will certainly endeavor to do so. Do I need to keep her away from anywhere particular or anyone?
Just keep her away from the elevators. A select few of our number shall descend and welcome him. You will be one of them.
But then how can I keep her?
By that point, everyone will know, I assure you. I have prepared somewhat of a speech.
An hour. Very well.
I see your friends have attended. Very good.
In light of recent events, friends is a strong word.
Then perhaps this is the push that you need. Once you are done here, there will be a helicopter. You will be leaving tonight.
Someone arrived on helicopter. Who was that?
Someone with potential, wasted potential. His name is Dragonov. He is an individual of influence, particularly in the mortal world. He has used his powers to gain leverage and position within very powerful organizations, particularly that of surveillance. He is of the clan of kings too, but most of our kind find it distasteful that he has shirked his responsibilities. You should speak with him. This will be your only opportunity for some time. I would know of his intentions.
I will see what I can find out. Oh, I had one more question. How
Yes.
widespread is the knowledge that I don't have a sire, or rather that I don't know it?
There are a few among our number that know this, mainly religions of our kind.
Interesting. I will try and keep Zio busy while also speaking with this Dragonov.
Zia seems content for the time being.
Toph can hold his own.
Find out what you can and report to me, and he turns his attention back to the party. Siegfried, what are you up to?
So after the Primogen made her grand exit into the party at large, Siegfried would kind of have taken the next moments to kind of exchange public pleasantries with the people in the area, just the shaking of hands, hello, you look great, how are you doing, blah, blah, blah. And then after a moment, he would walk up next to Cinder when there was kind of a lull in the socializing. And lean in, not too close to be uncomfortable, but enough that they can kind of share a word amidst the noise. I'm sorry for the last couple days. Things have been complicated.
You stood me up twice, Siegfried. There won't be a third opportunity.
That's fair.
Unless you work really hard, she adds with a smile.
Well, perhaps tonight can be the start of putting in such an effort then.
How can I refuse such an offer?
Kind of like hold out a hand and kind of nod towards the dance floor.
She
for a
smiles and she says, absolutely. You can absolutely make a check if you like to see how well you do, if you want to show off.
I do want to show off. It turns out that so you said it was Dex and performance, if I heard you
I
right.
imagine so. Yeah, that was just my interpretation. If you have something you could argue, by all means.
Dex and performance is great. So
That's
I
fine
rolled
then.
11 dice for this.
Oh shit, man, you're gonna be
Between
amazing.
celerity, Dex, and performance. So that is 7 successes.
Okay, because it's so good, how much attention do you want to draw with this? Because that's pretty good.
Um,
Like, is
How
this
much
like, oh
attention-
my god, you're amazing and people would be stunned by it, or are you going to be quite subtle about it? Do you know what I mean?
if he would be able to tell, how much would Cinder want him to show off?
Maybe a little bit.
I would, yeah, definitely like, not like, turning the entire room's attention, but like if you were to catch their eyes and see, you'd be like, oh wow, like that's a person who like, it's not like a guy who's, dancing however they can manage to dance. It's like, oh no, that person is like studied dance. They know how their body works. They know how to move in it. They've like trained. So it definitely would be impressive, but not like to to such a degree that like everything like eyes are all on them or anything.
Sure. Fantastic. Is there anything you wish to discuss with her whilst you dance? Or is it,
He would probably try to um I already did that, Taylor. You missed it. Yeah, just kind of try to get a sense of her and also some of the other people. Like he hasn't met any of the other Toreadors, so it kind of start, taking this at this time to be like, all right, who are these people? Who should I be aware of? Who should I be interested in? Who should I stay away from? And so on.
And she says, I'll absolutely be able to introduce to you to some people, but right now I want to know what's kept you so busy.
Turns out we've had some eyes on us lately from certain people. I've been making some strange and time-consuming requests. And he'll kind of like nod up at the staircase that like Toph has just like made it to the bottom of, and that Tess is standing up next to Mr. G at.
Yeah, she looks over and you can see there's a definite change in her expression, like when she notices that you're talking about Mr. Gisborne. And for someone who is never really that serious about anything, she suddenly turns very serious. And she says, you need to be careful.
I plan on it. I don't. His attention is not exactly appreciated or trusted.
What is it that he wants of you?
I'm still not entirely sure. He's not exactly been very forthcoming with me.
The hierarchy of the camera often ask a lot of our kind, but seemingly more so for you and your friends.
Yes, I'm not sure exactly what cause for grievance that they have, but they have been very open about how in control of us they are and how grateful that we should be to them for their kindness, despite not receiving any such kindness in reality.
You sound very alone, Siegfried.
Sometimes it feels like that too.
I understand. And you continue to dance. Donica. Sorry, no, Grigori. Haven't been back to you yet.
Grigori is puking in a sink in a bathroom, throwing up all the champagne. He stands up straight, pops his back, looks in the mirror, retracts his fangs. The guard standing next to him gives him a cloth. He wipes his mouth with it, hands it back. Did Verity look properly upset? The guard says, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir, I wasn't able to see." He thrusts him against the wall, maybe shattering some tile behind it. "You have one job." His phone rings, mobile phone. 2 jobs. He hands it to the guard. And then before he answers, he says, "Wait, make sure you get the information from everyone I've spoken to. There are some people I want to keep track of." And then he walks out of the bathroom, first just kind of straightening himself up, and he grabs another glass of champagne.
Tess, I think this might be an opportunity, you see him re-emerge from wherever he's been.
And Tess would kind of move, not quite to intercept, but to walk alongside him. "I believe I recognize you. You made quite the entrance earlier."
Oh, no business showing up anywhere if you're not going to make an entrance. What is your name?
"I am Tess Marshall."
Have I heard of you at all?
Probably not.
Probably not. Nope. He nods, though, as if he has.
"And you are?"
There's a fly on my face, sorry. He brushes something away. Dragunov, Grigori. He holds his hand out to shake or whatnot.
"Yeah, she'll shake your hand." "A pleasure."
Yeah, likewise. I'm new in town. This is my first day, but I'm sure it won't be my last.
"Where are you from?"
Oh, well, that's a funny story. He gets interrupted by the Korean woman, his assistant. She whispers something in his ear. He whispers back, Russia, Sakhalin, actually, north of Japan. I've spent most of my life in Korea, though, the southern one.
"And I suppose you're just here for this soiree, as it were?"
I'm here because this is where the dog is buried, and I know it. But yes, I'm here to enjoy the party, just like everyone else, correct?
"Oh,
He
aren't
gives
we
you a
all?
knowing look.
Aren't we all? You intrigue me, Mr. Dragunov."
It's good to be intriguing. The alternative is boredom.
"I don't like to be bored."
And something tells me this party won't be boring. And actually, someone whispers in his ear at that moment, probably confirming that it won't be boring.
"I think your instincts are correct there."
Ooh, is there some sort of insight I could get from that sentence?
Oh, okay. Let's see.
Ooh, I want to all contest that roll, whatever it is.
Okay,
Sweet.
excellent.
Awesome.
So let's work this out.
I'll actually get to roll dice tonight. Woo!
Yeah, you'll learn, Barker, that we have to remember how to play this game every time we play it. So if we could,
That's fine.
what would we argue that is then?
I will do manipulation and subterfuge if I can.
Ooh, I need to.
Say that again, Wood.
That sounds correct. Manipulation and subterfuge, and then maybe perception or wits and
I was gonna say wits,
insight.
probably.
Yeah,
Is there an
wits
insight?
is fine. Yeah.
Perhaps empathy might be one as well, or
Empathy,
you could
yeah.
argue some sort of even, I don't know, if
Awareness.
awareness would quite do it, yeah.
I feel like Tess is kind of a victim in a lot of ways, just based on what I've picked up so far. So I think empathy, maybe being able to see something in her eyes or her face as she says those words, might help. So I'll roll empathy plus wits.
Sure, that
Or
sounds good.
perception. They're about the same.
What's our DC on this one, Rob?
Well, it's opposed, so 6 will be your success. If you get a 6 or higher, that's a success. Oh, and Barker, any 10s, re-roll them because they're criticals. If they get another 6, then you count them.
And
Sweet,
ones
thanks.
are a minus.
And 1s are a minus.
Great.
5 successes for me.
Then I don't perceive anything at all. I feel maybe a pang of burn in my chest. Excuse me. And he kind of walks away to, I don't know, grab a napkin to spit in.
Very good. Donica.
So he would have briefly talked to Fag about his sort of de-escalation of the situation, but he would be interested. He would like go and not follow Jonah, but like watch him and see where he goes, and just like making sure that he hasn't like immediately gone to plant a bomb or something. He would just like keep an eye on him from a distance. But after that, he would go and talk to Mr. G, if that's possible.
Yeah, at this point, now that Toph is dancing with Zia and Tess has gone off to speak with this Grigori chap, he stands alone.
Gisborne.
It has been some time, Donica.
Far too long. It's quite a soiree you're throwing here. It's rather nice.
It is a necessary evil. You must see that such things are frivolous in their way. I find them to be anyway.
This is an absolute waste of resources, 100%. And he'll like nod.
On that we can agree.
But it's about appearances, isn't it? I suppose. Projection of power, in a way.
Of course.
We have had a rough and rocky relationship, and I don't imagine that will change much. But nonetheless, I wanted to say to you that I've done a lot of thinking in my time. And I've come to some realizations, certainly about my own role in this world and my notions that I have. I have a rebel heart, Mr. G, and I struggle when I am told to do anything. I struggle when someone points a finger at me, and I struggle when I'm talked to like a child. However, beginning to see that I am one small part in a very, very big machine. And so I thought maybe it would be possible to start again.
Start again. Very interesting.
It seems to me the best way for me to keep you out of my life is to do what you say. Is when you ask me to do something, simply do it, and then you'll stop hassling me. That seems to me the best possible way to keep you and the Camarilla happy. Is that correct?
I would not say that we have hassled you, but clearly we disagree on many things. Yes, indeed, there were certain things that were asked of you because, as I mentioned, you have to earn your place in our society, particularly when you have no one vouching for you. But I vouched for you, Donica. I vouched for you and all of your friends.
And for that, I am grateful. And it sounds like I'm being facetious, but I am not. I know that if you hadn't vouched, we would be dust. That has become more and more clear to me the more that I learn about this midnight aristocracy. It's no one told me anything, Gisborne. Nobody told me, or any of us really, what we were supposed to do, or what our roles were, or where we fit in. You told us a little bit here and there, but only when we asked you. And so I think we can be forgiven maybe for past problems.
What is it you want, Donica?
I want to start a clean slate. I want you to know that there was a potential terrorist attack here this evening that I have put a stop to. I want you to know that I care about this situation and that I know that it's here to protect us. It's the government. This is the It's the totalitarian government of this world. I get it.
Of what potential terrorist attack do you speak?
It's dealt with. Trust me, this is something I did for you. Not you specifically, but for the Camarilla. There are lies spread about me. There are things said about me that I'm a maniac and that I want to see the end of all of this. And I don't like all this glitter, and I don't like all this shine, and I don't like the way that my clan sits over in the dark corner while all the other clans mingle over here. I don't like any of that, but I do understand why the Camarilla exists.
As I understand it, it is your kind that yearn for the darkness. It is your kind that wish to be avoided. We did not ask them for such. That is their nature. We all have our natures here, Donica. And I understand that you have yours and that you follow yours. It is to be respected. But what I am struggling to comprehend, and perhaps you can enlighten me, is why this sudden change of heart, this change of your rebel heart.
That hasn't changed. I still feel it. I have just realized that there's no hope there. There's nothing that can be gained from that. Only angry stares and potential death is what follows that sort of thinking. And so, much as when I was a human and I decried the government and I was furious about the taxes I had to pay, now I can just be furious about the taxes I have to pay to you. Doesn't mean I'm going to go nuts about it. More and more, I think that if I just toe the line and fit in, I will have my own freedoms.
Is that so?
That's so.
I am very pleased to hear it then.
Good. Well, I just wanted to clear the air, and hopefully we can start again. And in future, if you need something from me, ask, and I will oblige.
I will be in touch very soon, Donica.
Very good. Yes, enjoy the rest of your evening. I can't wait to see what this surprise everyone's talking about is.
Oh, you will.
Very good. Have a good one. And he'll give a nod and then walk.
Mr. G just follows you with cold, suspicious eyes. Tough. What are you doing?
So as the dance kind of comes to an end with Zia, Toph would kind of look at her and smile, maybe a little really impressed by how well she dances, and say, "Forgive me, but you are probably one of the best dancers I've ever had the pleasure of dancing with. But I can't help but notice you seem distracted by something."
I understand what it is that you're doing. You're trying to make small talk. You're trying to engage me in, I'm sure, some fascinating conversation. But really, Bruja, you bore me.
Toph would smile and he would laugh a bit, and he'd say, "Well, that has to be a new record." Makes me wonder what it would take to excite you, I guess. And he would shoot her a look that I don't want to say it's lewd. It probably wouldn't do it. Probably wouldn't be lewd. And maybe he'd look over his shoulder to where she's looking. "Pray tell, what do you think I'm distracting you from?"
You're not distracting me from anything. Upon the dance floor, one can see all. I've been watching your friends. It seems strange how Gizman has such an attachment to them.
I think Toph would just shrug. I don't really care what Mr. Gisborne thinks, honestly, truth be told. He's kind of a prick.
Finally, something we can agree on. Go and find your friends, Bruhar. I tire of this.
Toph. And he would turn and probably with as much dignity as he could probably have after you've just been owned, walks off.
And are you going to go looking for someone?
Yeah. I think he would look for Sig because he hadn't had a chance to talk with Sig in days since they had that rather unpleasant separation where poor Sig had to choose. So yeah, he would kind of be probably building up some courage to go and he'll have that moment where Siegfried is, I guess, done dancing, and he would probably use that as his opener, as he and oh god, what's her name? The YouTuber Cinder, yes. He would kind of just nod to Cinder and he would look at Sig and say, that was beautiful. Do you have a minute?
Yeah, as Toph says, that was beautiful. Good for like a light, playful bow to that, as Toph has surprisingly complimented him, and kind of then like gesture over to Cinder, like, yeah, that was pretty dang good, huh? And I'll just kind of like look at her, like, is it okay if I take a second here?
She gives a nod and she goes off to basically get drinks.
So I'm gonna cut right to it, Siegfried. I'm not good at this, but he kind of bites his bottom lip and then he looks back at you. We didn't really separate on good terms, and I just want to clear the air between us. I had a chance to talk with Don the other day, and I don't know if he's talked with you at all. But I just want to make sure that we're okay.
Trust me, Toph. After all the ridiculous shit you've done so far, did you really think that that would be the one that could possibly do it in?
Sig. I think you're my favorite. And he would give you like one of those, he would give you a hug, wrap his arm around you, but he like holds it like a second, maybe too long. So it's a little uncomfortable. Does that little pat and that rub on your back. And he whispers in your ears, "You're my favorite." And then he steps back and gives you a wink.
Yeah, Sig will just kind of like, he expected it, like he knew it was going to happen because it always happens, but it still it still surprised him somehow, even though he was exactly aware of what would happen. And just kind of like shake his head. Yeah, of course. Who was that you were with just now? You seemed like an interesting sort.
Sia? Oh, we go way back. Yeah. Yeah, old girlfriend, old flame. She's still a little angry at me. I seem to do that a lot. I might want to maybe get some help for that. I don't know. And you know that he's just like totally talking shit. And then he stops and he goes, but, all right, enough fucking around. I really don't know. She doesn't like Mr. Gisborne, though, so there is that. I like her for that, and she could dance pretty damn well. Have you heard anything about her? Maybe Cinder knows her.
I've heard that she's from our clan. That's about it. Have
Well, that
not been
explains a
quite
lot.
introduced to many of my clanmates yet, though that's something that I intend to do.
Well, I wish you well. And Toph's phone would kind of vibrate in his pocket, and they would get distracted by that, and you'd see him pull it out, and he'd look at it, and then put it back. He goes, "Have you talked to Tess at all? She seems out of sorts."
Yeah, I talked to her the other day. It was probably a little colder than I should have been, in hindsight.
I think
The whole thing has been strange.
Toph would frown at that. You and Donica shouldn't blame her for something I've done. She needs you.
To
She
be
probably
honest,
needs-
kind of like look around, like, and there's almost going to be like a guilty look on his face, as if like he knows he shouldn't think this, but he does. You know how you said that despite your appearances, that there's different motives, different plans underneath the surface that your demeanor doesn't give away. I'm not convinced that Tess is entirely different. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing or what that means.
I think Toph would come in closer so that what he says can only be heard by you, but it's not that playful way that he does with you, Siegfried. He's got a serious look on his face, and he says, "That's all the more reason to stay close to her, don't you think?"
I'm starting to see how this game is played around here. From you, from her, from everyone. I think it might be time to start playing the game of my own.
You know that look a parent gives their child when they've mastered a skill, or they've that look of pride. I think that would flash across Toph's face for just that moment. He would kind of tap you on the chest a couple of times, just very gently with the end of his cane, and he'd say, "Siegfried, my boy, I think you're getting it." And then he would kind of look past you at Cinder. He'd give her an easy smile and a wink, and say, "I have some drinking to do. I will probably see you later."
I'm sure we will. And as you go to turn, like Siegfried will like kind of just give you one more tap and say, like actually earnestly, "We are good. I don't harbor anything else. If you and Don are cool again, we're cool."
He would smile at you and he'd say, "You just don't know how that touches my cold heart, Siegfried."
Tess, Mr. Gisborne sweeps through the crowded party towards you. And he says, "This is it. You have provided the necessary distraction. It is time to say goodbye to your friends."
Where will I meet you?
I will accompany you at a later time.
Where am I going?
To the plaza on the ground floor. But first you must speak with them. I'm sure they would care for your farewell.
Perhaps. I'll do it either way.
Make it quick.
Tess pulls out her phone, and I think Donica has just emailed her recently, and she'll respond back to that email again. See you eventually. As she knows he's not much for long goodbyes.
You get an immediate response saying that it's not an email address, and it like bounces back.
Of course. So she'll look and see if she can spot. God, I don't even know if she could spot him if he's still got that mask of 1,000 faces on. So she'd find Siegfried first if she could. Sig, I gotta go.
I'm sorry about the other day. I've judged everyone here probably too harshly, you most of all.
Oh.
We all have our own game that we have to play, and if this is your game to play, then I hope you win.
I will do everything I can to make sure you guys aren't hurt by it or caught in the crossfire. That's part of why I'm doing it.
I understand. And yes, as you said the other day, I will miss you.
She'll just wrap him up in a hug. Don't let Toph do anything too crazy. Don't let Donica do anything crazy. Too crazy.
Not like I could stop either of them if I wanted to.
Find something that makes you happy, okay? And she'll look over to where Cinder is. Or someone.
We'll see. Bye, Tess.
Tell Donica goodbye for me. I haven't actually seen him. I assume he's here.
I'm sure he's seen this take place. If he wants to say something, I'm sure he can find you.
Yeah. That's kind of what I figured. Bye, Siegfried.
Bye, Tess.
She'll turn and look for the flamingo pink suit. Toph.
I think Toph would be like talking to a couple of vampires that are probably just being overly bored but polite. Oh, hey, Tess.
Could I borrow you for just a moment?
So you turn back to these other vampires. You'd be like, I'll be right back. Yeah.
I gotta go.
This kind of his brow would furrow a bit. What do you mean you have to go?
I'm not entirely sure myself, but I need some lessons, it seems. I don't actually know where or for how long, which now that I'm saying that out loud seems like it's slightly troublesome, but it seems to be the way of things.
Well, with Mr. G, and he would he would quickly scan the room to see if he could see Mr. G, but he doesn't see him, so he turns back to you, Tess.
I assume so. He at least said he'd meet me there later.
I'm not good at these things.
Shut up, I'll see you again later.
Wait. And he reaches into his flamingo jacket and he pulls out a small little package. It's probably about 6 inches long. It's poorly wrapped.
Toph, if that is drugs, I don't want it.
He looks insulted, but that playful insulted. I would never wrap drugs, Tess. And he hands you this little small poorly wrapped package for you. And good luck. And he reaches out and he kind of like touches your arm just above the elbow, and he says, and he gives you that like warm kind of just squeeze, and he says, I mean that. Good luck.
Thanks, Toph. You've gotten us into all kinds of messes, but you've gotten us out of more, I think.
You would just laugh. I mean, come on. Who else can you say you stole a tiger with? Huh?
I would prefer not to remember that night.
But he would give like there would be like that moment where it's like that awkward kind of like, and he would just give you a hug. And well, yeah, I gotta go. Yeah, we'll finish talking with them. Good luck. And he would turn.
Toph.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself. And she'll give him a little kiss on the cheek. Take care of those others too. Even if Donica doesn't want you to.
Yeah, he would kind of say, I was planning on it. And he would turn and return to the conversation that he was having.
Tess will head towards the stairs and kind of make one more look for Donica. But if he doesn't appear as he is wont to do, then she'll go downstairs.
No, he would watch and see her go, but not approach.
She feels that almost in a sense, and like we're just like, yeah, well, screw you too.
And you step out. There is a moment's lull in the proceedings, and Mr. Gisborne takes a position atop the balcony level of the dance hall, and his voice rings out. He doesn't appear to raise his voice, but it carries, and everyone falls silent. The music stops when he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, kindred of all clans of the Camarilla, I welcome you to this auspicious evening. It is good to see that so many of you have traveled far and wide to pay your respects. For as you were informed, from 3 nights from now, our Prince Mithras will rise once again to take a more controlled position here and to continue his long reign in these last nights. However, there has been a change of plan. some of the highest ranking official members of our community here, have all agreed that it would be such a waste of having all of you fine kindred here without allowing our prince to fully thank you all for attending this fine evening. It has taken many sacrifices and much vitae, but I can assure you, our prince is now ready to awaken. A select few of you have been chosen to join me in the sanctums beneath this fine tower to welcome him. The Primogens, if you would like to join me, the assembled Primogens of the Camarilla have lined by the door, waiting. Sid is there, and he gives you a nod, Toff. Do you go?
Oh yeah.
Lala does not beckon you forth, Siegfried, but Cinder is, and she looks back, and she is almost waiting to see if you will come as well. But it's entirely down to you.
Yeah, he would see her, kind of look over, and kind of be confused for a second, like, wait, what do I have to do with this? But then kind of seeing her, call anyways, he would confusedly make his way over there.
Donica, Faye is looking to you. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't indicate anything whatsoever, but his eyes are fixed on you.
Is the look like this is what you're here for and this is why you've been forced to come? Because then he'll go, but if it's like, do you want to come?
This is what you're here for.
Yeah, so he'll fucking roll his eyes until he almost passes out, and then walk up next to Fag.
That's great. I'm going to steal that. And Grigori, you feel a hand on your shoulder. It's this Zia woman, this enchanting, dark dancer. And she just stares at you and says, "We've not met before. But as I understand it, it may be prudent for you to join us. We're going on a little walk."
Almost instantly, the assistant comes up and says something in hurried Korean. Grigori was planning on leaving early, maybe to rub people the wrong way on purpose. But he pauses her mid-sentence and says, "No, I think we have time for a walk." He's interested.
"If you would all accompany me," Mr. Gisborne says as he glides down the stairs effortlessly. He leads a small company of you and the Primogen and a few other dignitaries, it seems, to an elevator where he removes a small key from his pocket. He opens up a small almost container thing that's at the bottom of the buttons of the elevator, where there are a number of other buttons revealed when he unlocks it. And he presses B10. The lift glides down the shard. It glides down, and you see the night sky dotted with beautiful stars. And then they vanish as you go into the subterranean levels of Ventru Towers. The doors open, and first of all, you see that clinical corridor that Tess had seen before. That clinical corridor bathed in flickering, almost greenish light. And then at the end of that corridor, through those double doors, the architecture immediately changes from the clinical modern day corridor to something of granite, something of cold, wet stone. You see Gothic architecture of gargoyles carved into the walls. A cathedral-sized chamber lies beneath Ventru Towers. And down winding stairs you go. Jonah's cackling to himself as it gets darker and darker. Morda, this primogen of the Tremere, essentially has these glowing red eyes, just sort of scanning, looking sort of intently and excitedly at this. There's Verity Blackwood as well, and essentially all of the primogens, Fag as well, all of them, and you are led down these stairs. Tess, you're walking through the atrium at this point, and you see that there is a helicopter, and its engines are revving. So it's getting the rotors fired up. What's running through your mind as you make your way to your departure?
Tess slips kind of behind the desk and picks up the kind of floral print suitcase bag that she'd stuck there, knowing she would be leaving from here tonight. She tucks the little package poorly wrapped inside. And she can hear the speech happening, the hush upstairs. And she feels incredibly lonely. Like if she'd chosen something better, something different, then she'd still be there. But this was her choice. And surely it's going to work out. It has to work out.
There's a helicopter pilot who's making preparations with one of those helmets with the black visor things here or whatever. Just gives you a nod, gets out of the helicopter, slides open the door. It's now or never, says the helicopter pilot.
She briefly considers saying never. But she gets in. Is there anyone else in there?
No, just you and the pilot, it seems.
Yeah. She'll get in, buckle the 5-point harness, and watch out the window.
The rest of you, deep beneath Ventru Towers, have now come to a vast door with an ornate seal cast into it. This is the chamber that Mr. Gisborne had given Tess her first lesson within, and now you're standing before what looks to be a vast stone crypt. But what is different from this, the way it looks this time, is that throughout all of these carvings upon the doors, you can see running through it down the walls are streams of thick blood oozing down into the crypt. Mr. Gisborne turns, clearly enjoying the fact that he is sort of running this show at this point. Turns to face all of the primogens and you, the rest of you, and he says, "It has taken an awful lot of work, and while I would have rather let our prince slumber, this is an immense honor for you all, one that I hope that you all will appreciate. And if you don't, it will be known. I can assure you of that. I do not need to remind all of you to show due courtesy. Conduct yourselves in a way that is appropriate for our returning lord." And he looks, and there are a few individuals that wear these almost sort of ceremonial, like flowing robe almost, and he gives a nod. And taking these kind of cog-like handles in two hands, they press it into the door and begin to heave. And almost in some kind of clockwork mechanism inside, these heavy stone doors shift slightly and then open. There is a cold mist that sort of slides from the opening that has now been made. It is utterly dark inside, and you see that there is almost this kind of sarcophagus within it, ornately carved from the darkest stone. And there are all kinds of images carved into it, denoting different cultures and time periods. This casket is almost telling a story of an immortal life. It would tell it better, however, if it wasn't cracked in half. And it becomes suddenly clear to you that the crypt is empty. Tess, as the helicopter climbs higher and higher into the sky, our vision moves down. We say goodbye to Tess for now. And the last thing we see as the helicopter crests the horizon is the body of a helicopter pilot bleeding out upon the ground. And that is where we'll leave our creatures of the night tonight. So, Barker, you might not know this, but at the end of every session of a World of Darkness game, we talk about what experience we get. We talk about a learning curve, something your characters have learned, and something cool that your characters did within the session. So we're going to start with Toph. What did Toph learn in today's session?
What did Toph learn? I think it's very bittersweet, but I think what Toph learned is how much he needs the others. I don't think that he would admit that. And when Donica made good with him, even though he's kind of suspect with why Donica is all of a sudden this change, I still think he welcomes it. And that is definitely something that I think Toph has been learning over these weeks. And the other is how much, even though he thinks Tess being with her own kind is the right thing to do, how really hard it is for him to come to that realization.
Fantastic. Siegfried, what did Siegfried learn this session?
Part of it's kind of a continuation of, I guess, what he's been learning for a while now. Even his friends, who he does trust for the most part, are all kind of playing at their own end. That's, they are a group, but everyone has their goal that they're trying to get, their own personal goal, and there's sacrifices and things that have to be made to make that happen, and sometimes it's going to cause conflicts between each other. So he's learned kind of two things. One is that they will stick it out despite that, as has been evidenced by some reconciliation that's happened, although, like Toph, Siegfried is not convinced that this new leaf is totally sincere. The other is that he needs to play his own game as part of this too, that he can't be the one person who's still fully human. And he's been letting that go for a long time, but I think we've kind of finally seen the coat fully shed in a way.
For sure. Fantastic. What did Donica learn?
So you catch more flies with honey, for sure, I think was the big one. He also I guess learned that like a lot of the Camarilla stuff is like just power projection. Like nobody really gives a shit, and they aren't as in control of things as they think they are. Like Jonah came in there with fucking C4 on him, and like the prince escaped his tomb, and like it's all a shit show. So he would like see that like see some of through some of the cracks. And even Mr. G's like words to him about like, oh, it's all for spectacle or whatever. But I think the big thing he learned is like that. Yeah, like being polite to people and like even if they're fake friendships is more effective than just being a maniac.
And Grigori, what did Grigori learn this session?
Grigori learned a couple of things. He likes to piss off the powers that be. That's not something he learned. That's something he knew. But his brazenness has seemingly, perhaps hypothetically, covered him in blood and thrown him to the wolves now that he's seeing the crypt and realizing that maybe there is something to be afraid of. He, as someone who's in the spotlight on the covers of magazines and newspapers, he's always considering in what way he's going to fake his own death someday so as to not reveal his immortality. But now it occurs to him that maybe he won't have to fake anything. Mortal power is a very important facet in the world, and a lot of vampires forget it. The Camarilla is very prominent and omnipresent, and their rules and regulations exist for a reason. But Grigori has found a certain leverage in his mortal power that he would like to, that he always likes to exploit. And that's he came to London to hunt, nothing more than to hunt. He has to hunt a certain type of prey, and he needs friends in the know to help him with that. And he thinks he may have a few leads. Those are the things he learned.
Fantastic. And finally, Tess. What did Tess learn?
That it can be real lonely when you try and play the game and make your path. Yep.
Yeah, fair. Okay. Well,
yes, and as Lionel's pointing out, Tess would definitely open the present at some point on the flight.
Oh, well, we should probably. All right, we'll finish with that. We'll have like a little post
Okay.
credit scene. Hang on. All right, let's get through that. Okay, so in that case, then we'll go back to Toph. What was something cool? Everyone joins in now. What was something cool that Toph did? I have mine, but it's probably going to get stolen.
I mean, just the description of his clothing and his appearance when he showed up was somehow exactly what I expected from Toph, and also surprising. Like I don't know how that it's possible, but it was exactly both of those things.
He broke the ice with Grigori and was kind of cool with the drink, putting the snow in the beverage, which actually in turn reminded me that I have to vomit occasionally if I consume human things. So thank you for that cool reminder.
The dancing was great, I thought. Like you wouldn't expect it from Toph. You would and you wouldn't, you know. Mm-hmm. But like that, I mean, it makes sense that he can dance in any sort of number of ways.
I just liked the little kind of side note at the beginning where he has pulled out this old violin and was playing that as was kind of passing a few days and mulling over the rift that had occurred.
I think it was really cool how he was able to like be quite diffusive with Zia, who is terrifying. She's not a very nice person to be around, but Toph's natural charm held fast, and I really enjoyed having that conversation with you. What was something cool that Siegfried did? I don't know why I paused there. Siegfried.
I think I should go first. Geez, it's so hard narrowing it down to just one thing. that he did in this session, because I really love how Jeff has just very organically allowed Siegfried to slowly kind of embrace his reality. So I loved his interaction with Cinder and the Primogen. I thought that was great. I thought it was it still felt very Siegfried to me, but you could see that shift, those subtle shifts in him. And I really like that. Jeff does that so well.
I like the juggling of Tess and Toph. I imagine that there was a scene that we didn't have where Donica sat Siegfried down and was like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell Tess this thing. I'm going to tell Toph this thing, blah, blah, blah. And then he just played it perfectly. And he was like, actually, the best bit, I think, was when they initially met Tess and Siegfried. Siegfried was just so cold. It was like watching an awful breakup. And it was, really terrible in a great way.
Yeah, that was my favorite scene, was Jeff intentionally letting Siegfried hold on to that hurt, and not being quick to forget it, which was super painful, but also really awesome.
I don't want to sound like a broken record or repeat too much of what you guys are saying, but the true sign of an awesome sandbox game is that 50 to 70% of all the conversations the players are having around the table are stuff that you've created yourself. And that was an experience for me in this first session, watching you all role play without, Rob, you could have gone to a Starbucks or something. And the reason I bring it up during Jeff's thing is because every scene Jeff was like that. I feel like every single, every scene that Siegfried was in felt like I was learning about I was being shown what had happened before. I was being shown how he related to these other people. And it was really cool. Also, he's pretty.
That as well, yes. It's always really difficult for me because everyone gets the good bits. But honestly, generally speaking, it was nice to see, because Siegfried's been the reserved one, but I think that came into his to his advantage in this particular session. I don't know what it was. He just seemed really reserved and cool in the party. He wasn't making too much of an effort. Do you know what I mean? I know it sounds quite simple, but I actually really enjoyed that. Just imagining this cool performance-based Toreador dude just taking it in stride.
Kind of noticed there about that, Donica began very vampire-y and now is starting to think, oh, people, you got to deal with people. And I think Siegfried is the other way and now is becoming quite vampire-y, and there's a nice parallel there or something,
That is a very good point.
I hated people to start.
You just hate bastards.
I'm willing to bet Donica was an asshole before he was embraced. Just saying.
Maybe. Well, whilst he's on the table, let's talk about Donica. So, what was the cool stuff that Donica did?
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna go first again. Donica, I loved the interaction we had in the pub, because the tension was there, even though we were very pleasant with one another. It was just so great, and it was so Donica. I could just see it because you meant everything, especially the end. I will stake you if you fuck me over again. I love that scene. I could just visualize it so well.
Sorry to jump in before, Lloyd. That friggin' scene that he's talking about, the I'll stake you, was amazing. And I had to jump in before because I know someone else is going to say it. You didn't talk to Tess. That was just the coolest little thread that you left. And I love that stuff. That was awesome.
I was very surprised to see Donica approach Mr. G of his own volition and offer his services in just complete contrast to what he's shown. But at the same time, there's always been this like split of Donica of like pragmatism and ideals. And like there's this rebel ideal that he has, but seeing pragmatism beat out idealism in that way, where it's better to play the game for now, and there's time to be a rebel later when I have more power. So seeing him not bend the knee, I think that's too extreme, but go in that direction a little bit more for now. At least I'm guessing it's going to be for now. That's my prediction, that it's going to be for now. Was really interesting, especially with Mr. G, who he's been extraordinarily open about despising on every possible level.
I picked Jonah in the C4. That whole exchange, I was dying laughing. For a serious game, I laugh a lot because, like, Rob, your NPCs are so believable, and Lloyd as Donica talking him off the explosive ledge. Like, yeah, that's a great idea, but maybe not tonight. Like, some other night we'll go find something to blow up. I loved it.
Is that everyone? Just me? It's already been said, but I really liked that you came up to Mr. Gisborne. I don't believe anything that you said for a second, but that's my own personal opinion. But we shall have to wait and see. But yeah, that was really, really cool. Really cool stuff going on there. What was something cool that Grigori did? And there's a few very obvious ones. But
the whole entrance,
everything. Just say everything.
I'm actually going to pick one that was very subtle, and I loved it. It was around Jonah and the C4 conversation. Is Grigori doesn't actually interpose himself, but he walks through that, kind of breaks the tension, and I love that. I love that part.
Well, that was an accident because Rob is so believable with his NPCs. I thought that he was actually out of character saying, is it C4 or D4? And I'm like, Rob, are you a moron? What?
I don't care.
It really worked.
That was a great moment.
It worked.
I loved it.
Thank you.
I think it was the little things so there was always someone talking to Grigori. There's always somebody doing something. He's never like just standing there. There's always somebody like, hey, just come here for a second. There's always like people around. They're always providing things and doing things. They're always like really busy, which I thought was great. It felt very believable. Like, he's a billionaire. Of course, he's got people all the time. And the other thing, which I thought was great, was like he was listening to Rage Against the Machine, which is just like barely even a thing. And I was like, yep, like it.
New Millennium Homes was the exact song. I had it ready just in case someone asked.
Very good, very good.
Yeah, I liked the little scene of Grigori like throwing up in the bathroom. It was so juxtaposed with his perfectly timed, like everything is timed. He has people at his beck and call. Everything seems perfectly put together, and then he's puking his guts out, and it was a really cool contrast in a gross way.
I'm going to be really annoying and say that one of the cool things that I really, really enjoyed is that Barker alluded to some things about the character that hasn't been made aware this session. But I noticed them, and I like that you're sowing those seeds. So for any eagle-eyed viewers, go back and listen to what he said. I'll tell you after.
Okay, good.
Because I think it was really cool, and it was really. I'll tell you after. But he's laying the groundwork for what is hopefully going to. Well, I know is going to be a really fun character to sort of continue on in this game. And finally, it's the last session for Tess for a little bit. So let's talk about the cool stuff that Tess did.
All right. I love that Tess totally brushed Toph off when he came up to her. One, as a player, I was so taken aback by that. I literally did not know how to respond to it. It was so great. I mean, I think that was one of those moments where player and PC's reaction is very much aligned. So when you did that, Taylor, it was so great, and it was so Tess, because she was like eye on the prize. She was working her angle, and she did not want the distraction of Toph. I love that.
I learned about the environment and the world surrounding us through every single one of Tess's exchanges with anyone, no matter who it was, another player or a non-player character. The conversation about the lack of sires and what that means and how many people know taught me about the surroundings just by being, again, like showing instead of telling via conversation. That was really awesome. And it was sad. You made it really sad, even for a first session. All of the sad conversations, everyone played a part in this. This isn't just a testing, but you were kind of that focal point for obvious good reasons. And it was really, really cool.
I like the goodbyes. I think they were really like they were long and like awkward, and I like that about them. Like they weren't clever or quick, and nobody said anything that was like, "Oh, that's a key." It was just like, I'm going now, and like that's kind of, I guess I'll see you around, and it was very believable. I thought like that's how you would say goodbye to somebody if you were vanishing somebody you didn't know, and you didn't know them very long, but you still felt a lot for them,
Yeah, I kind of going off of that, and there's a couple points in the session where it happened, but just the sincerity that Tess portrays, like the complexity of the situation of like how much is like, yeah, I'm leaving. I think it's right, but I don't know. But like I care about you guys, and like seeing her, especially when she kind of like reprimanded Siegfried towards the beginning for being so cold, just like, will you at least like say that you miss me? Like this is a big deal, kind of thing. And there was a couple times where there was kind of that like realness to Tess that you can feel in a way that you don't usually get in many RPG sessions. Like it's like Lloyd said, very believable and human in a very interesting way.
Yeah, it's already been stolen, but I'll say it again. Will you just say that you'll miss me? Like that bit really got me. I was like, oh man, that was a really good line. And I think that kind of just sums up why Tess has, and Taylor, you obviously do this effortlessly, but it's yeah, the heart, very much the heart and soul, the very sincere, caring individual, and you bring real emotion to everything that you did. So that was really fucking cool. It just makes, because I mean, think about it. This game is nuts. Like, some really weird, stupid shit happens in it sometimes, but we can always count on Tess to give us that sort of balance to make it all worthwhile, I suppose. So, Tess, for the final time, for now, you're in the helicopter and you look down and you have this package. Toph, why don't you tell us what's inside?
So as Tess opens this package, what falls out is like a very small, kind of battered little. It's C4 with a little blinking light. Boom. No, it's this small like digital recorder, and there's this little like post-it note that says, like, not that she would not be able to figure this out. It says, "Press play me."
Yeah, Tess like kind of holds it up to her ear over the whirring of the helicopter and hits play.
You hit play and there's like that, and then you hear Toph's voice come on. It says, words fail me when I think of like things that I would want to tell you. We've been through a lot, and I've learned a lot from you in this time. I hope that our paths will cross again. I know that our paths will cross again. So all I can do is thank you the only way that I know how. And there's like another pause, and you hear like this kind of shuffling around of Toph in his flat. And then you hear him draw the bow across the strings of his violin, and he starts to play you this song that he has composed for Tess. And that plays out for many minutes. And then it just ends after like maybe about 20-ish minutes.
And that is the last that we hear as the helicopter slides over that horizon. Thank you ever so much, guys. For those of you watching, hope you like this video. Give it a like. If you'd like to see more like it, give me a subscribe. Or not, we're all friends here. Or are we? Take it easy, and I hope that all of your Performances are up to standard.